Next video in this series, Professor Dungeon Master talked about doing independent games in July. And I think that's a great idea. I want to celebrate independent games if I can. I want to put the word out there for games if I can. I'm going to mention today Over the Edge. Now, this is Over the Edge 2nd edition. It is out of print. I think you can still get physical copies of it from Atlas Games, but do not quote me on that. I may be wrong. I do believe you can order the PDF, however, direct from them. Not sure if they're on drive-thru. I didn't look. Over the Edge uses a system that has now been put out also as, I believe, a free download, again, from Atlas Games, called Warp. And that's a capital W, small a, capital R, capital P, I believe. I believe I'm correct on that. Warp, which is a generic system. They apparently originally envisioned the mechanics as a generic system. And as a generic system, it's fantastic. It's one of the best. I always talk about basic role-playing as one of my favorite games, period, and I think a fantastic generic system. I think it works as a generic system better than most that sell themselves as that, and in fact, the new edition of basic role-playing is selling itself as a generic system. I think it is a great one for that. I might give the edge to Warp as presented in Over the Edge 2nd edition, but, you know, taste vary. And I will say that it is the very opposite of crunch. Basic role-playing has a moderate level of crunch. I think crunch for math and various mechanics and the fiddly bits. And with basic role-playing, there's a lot of ability to add on more fiddly bits if you feel like it, depending on what type of game you want to play. Hit locations or, whatever. That's not the case with Over the Edge 2nd edition. It is a very simple, very easy system. Characters are painted in big brush strokes, and I think it's wonderful. I used the system twice, once to run a game set in the world of Cyberpunk 2020, as you will know in this current age, Cyberpunk 2077. That's right, that's the name of the video game, but it's the same universe. Just, the version that I knew back in the 90s versus the version that's in the video game in this day and age. I used it for that. I also used it to run a game of Star Trek. It worked incredibly well for both, and I have often danced around using it for other games, including my own, the setting that my work-in-progress novel is set in, as well as some other things. It's a great, great game. The actual game, Over the Edge, is also great, but it's real weird, and it's not going to be to everybody's taste. It taps into, like, William S. Burroughs, Hunter S. Thompson, that mid-20th century, drug-addled, weird, uncomfortable, almost body horror and psychological horror at the same time. Conspiracies, all kinds of wishes. It's a super weird game. It's great. It's fun. It's really cool, and I loved it. I got a chance to play it a couple of times just as Over the Edge. Loved it. It was great. But it is not for everybody. And they put out a 3rd edition, which I actually think I did the Kickstarter for, but I picked it up. It wasn't for me. The system was different. I didn't love it. The setting was changed, modernized, but also just changed, and it didn't work for me. I didn't regret supporting it. I'm glad it's out there. I hope people like it. It just wasn't my bag. But the 2nd edition is fantastic. This is my favorite edition of the game. Not started a kind of edition wars from the not very large number of people who probably play this. So anyway, Atlas Games, Over the Edge, 2nd edition, also available, I believe, still as a PDF, free, called Warp, just the mechanics. Great. Really fantastic. For a very good, honestly rules light, generic game. Because it's not rules light like a couple of them, like Fate. Fate pretends it's rules light, but then you start reading it, and it's like, actually got rules for everything. This is really rules light. So, anyway, good stuff. check out the links below if you want to support me in any way. If you like these videos, you want to check out anything, it's all down there. Or don't support if you feel like it. It's also fine. All right, take care.